on making eye contact. So, yeah, write those down for yourselves. And as I say, if anyone would like to put down their example in the chat, share with others, of course, very thrilled for you to do that. I will move us along, though, in the interest of time. Hopefully, people are still thinking about that. Sergey, as they think about that, maybe you can share with us some of the brain, the understanding we have of how our brain learns that can help us hack our development planning.
Yeah, absolutely. And one aspect, and we'll get to that, is our brain gets tired very easily. And I know that we've been uh, working hard, and it's a lot of information. So after this short session, we'll have a break. So just bear with us a little bit. Why do we want to talk about neuroscience of learning? Well, first, it's really cool, and I get really excited about it. But second, knowing how our brain works helps us to be more productive. And third, this information will come really handy in the last section of the course, where we'll explore the different ways to support and optimize your learning. So listen now, take note, and we will get back to that at the end of today. So the first key insight about our brain is that it gets scared easily. Why? Because our modern skulls house a Stone Age mind. So imagine that you are a lizard sitting on a stone, maybe 3,000 years ago, and you see a shadow. And the only thing that goes through your brain is, will that shadow eat me or not? Because if you get that question wrong, well, bad luck. So, social studies have convincingly proven that today, the social threat, so something that we perceive from others as they say something, or they look at us in a different way, or behavior, it equals physical brain from the neurological perspective. If you put in an MRI and we're looking in the MRI machine at your brain, when we show you a picture of a lion or a wolf, the same areas in your brain light up as when you hear the phrase, "Can I give you some feedback?" For example. So physical threat and social threat activate the same areas on the brain. And when you are afraid, when your brain is scared, then no learning happens. No learning happens. So we know that learning happens in the discomfort zone. So there is very little that we learn in the comfort zone. When everything works right, there is no stretch. Yeah, we'll learn something, but not majorly. However, when we're in the danger zone, when our brain gets scared, also no learning happen. Why? Well, there are neurological answers to that. Like, imagine that you see a lion. You walk through the woods and you see a lion or a wolf. Within 3 seconds, well, your blood is pumping. So the heart goes 10 beats per minute above the resting rate, can jump up to 30 beats per minute with a single heartbeat. Sugar goes up. Why? Because you need glucose for fighting. Cortisol, and cortisol is a stress hormone. It's right. So, but you need it because it really makes you focused. But it creates also tunnel vision. You only focus on what is threatening to you, and you forget everything else in the world. Your immune system and your reproductive system as well, they will shut down because they're not really necessary at the moment. Your brain will shut down all other stimuli except for the immediate danger. Yeah, we lose over 50% of our math and language acuity when we're faced with danger. There is clenched jaw, twitching, tapping foot, extremities get cold. We say, "Oh, got cold feet." Why? Because the blood goes to the muscles. You're preparing to fight or run. So that is what your body does when it's faced with a threat. And because we've just established that a physical threat will produce the very same reaction as a social threat, then we need to understand that in the social situations, we are not learning when our brain goes into that mode. Yeah, no proactive deep learning happens when you're under threat. And what could that be? For some, as I mentioned, feedback can be a threat. And since we know how important it is for our development, we need feedback. Going into the threat mode shuts our brain to receive that valuable information. Some people may cause that threat for us. So there are some colleagues that the moment we see them, like, oh no 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 no, all this, amygdala hijack, amygdala hijack. So do you have colleagues or business associates just get the worst out of you? So in those threat situations, we're more likely also to exhibit the derailing behaviors and so on and so forth. But most of social threat can be managed. It's a learnable skill. It's up to you whether you react mindfully or defensively to a threat situation. And for that, you should practice reframing and emotional intelligence. Yeah, when someone critiques your work, most likely it's just about that. It's about work. It's not about you. Yeah, it's not personal, really. And most likely others try to help you become even better by sharing information on how you can improve. If the whole team has gone out to lunch and hasn't invited you, it's likely that it was an honest mistake. They simply forgot. It's not about you. It's not personal. So take a proactive approach and organize the next lunch yourself. So remember that if you feel your brain is about to get scared, switch on the prefrontal cortex within 3 seconds. Yeah, you have 3 seconds to do that. And how do you do that? Shut up your mouth. Why? Because your mouth is connected to your amygdala and your nose is connected to your prefrontal cortex. When we are scared, what's the first thing that happens? we take in the air because our amygdala needs oxygen. So if you feel like you're about to be threatened, you're about to derail, shut up your mouth and breathe through the nose. And that will help you to counteract that. Now, the second fact is that our brain is biased. You've heard a lot about the cognitive biases. They're often unintentional and automatic. They influence our perceptions, judgments, and decision-making processes. It might be the familiarity bias. Yeah, the information that I know, well, I think it's more valuable. And the information that's unknown to me, I think it's less important. That is a bias. Or maybe it's a confirmation bias. I start thinking, I learned a piece, I learned a model, I learned a skill, I learned a piece of knowledge, and now I recognize it everywhere, or I want to use it everywhere. And that is just maybe the wrong thing to do, and it can lead to systematic errors. So evolutionary, the biases, they might have served as survival mechanism, because it's a shortcut. I don't need to think broadly. I don't need to think in complexity. It tells us, okay, this is good and this is bad, and our brain makes those decisions. But remember that it leads to selective processes. It filters information based on past experiences and our own limitations. And past experiences may not make you successful in the future. Why? Because the context is different. And remember that we are also limited. Each one of us has a set of biases, and it takes a conscious effort to recognize that and counteract. So some of those biases are directly linked to learning. And a helpful way to check for our assumptions that are harmful to your learning is just look at those common scripts. So those are the things that we heard from different people on why they think that they don't need to learn. They don't need to change. They don't need to invest in their development. Maybe it's, I've done well enough thus far without it. So why do I need to learn? Well, we know that what got you here won't take you there. So if you want to progress in your job, or you want to start a project that is different from what you're doing, or maybe you're going up a level in your career, well, you will need new skills, and you will need to change. Or maybe fixing this will make me less effective. Well, probably that's true for a short while. Remember the example with the tennis serve that Angela gave us? Yes, if you start trying serving a bit differently, in the short-term perspective, you will be less effective. But a longer-term perspective, you will really supercharge your development. Or I've never seen anyone like me change this. That may be particularly true if, I don't know, you come from a family where you don't have any college graduates. And you say, hey, you know what, I'll never make it through college because none of my parents or nobody in my family has done that. Well, look for other role models. Look at what's available and think that today and tomorrow are also different from the past. So don't fall prey to this bias that because no one has done that from who you know, that it's impossible, and so on and so on and so forth. So think about this list and maybe mark those scripts that aren't helpful to you. So something that goes through your mind and note them down. Note them down and think, okay, what is it that you that might be stopping your learning? And finally, number 3, our brain is lazy. Laziness is built into our nature. Oh dear, I really ought to do something, but I'm already in my pajamas. So not happening, not happening today. And also the brain gets excited around anything new and shiny, just like babies. You know, little babies, and like little babies that it gets tired quickly. We like shiny things. Evolution has trained our brain to minimize effort, which can make it hard to engage in physical activity or mentally demanding tasks. And when the brain receives too much stimulation or it has to maintain an intense level of activity without rest, like when we need to learn and practice a new skill, well, then it might shut off. And because the brain gets tired quickly, it looks for shortcuts, and we get back to this topic of biases. So remember that your brain will take the route of least resistance. So help your brain learn most effectiveness. I don't know. Eat well and sleep 8 hours a day. You know, drink 2 liters of water. Eliminate distractions. Spend more time in nature. Connect meaningfully with others. Exercise. Rest. So all of those things, make sure that your brain is well fed. There is enough glucose. You get you take breaks. You also engage in social learning because our brain appreciates that. So remember that active brain means active learning. So teach your brain to be resilient, just like your muscles. You can train your brain to learn more effectively by increasing its resilience. And you know, since your brain favors novelty, it likes bright and shiny things, pick new and different topics around the competency that you are developing. You will accomplish more through learning activities that are novel and surprising. Because your brain, our brain, is lazy, and to make it less scary, increase difficulty gradually. So go step by step. To boost motivation, so what are those? As Alice in Wonderland would say, is that animal, vegetable, or mineral? So TUTs are your task unrelated thoughts. When you're learning something and your brain goes somewhere else and starts thinking about all the different things that are unrelated to learning. And automatic negative thoughts. I can't do that. That's not for me. Why am I here? This is rubbish, and so on and so forth. And Pee-wee's persistent unsolved worries. Yeah, we're worried that we're worse than others. We're worried that we're falling behind and our neighbor is already on the next chapter or whatnot. So tuts, ants, and peewees really make it more difficult for us. They're very unhelpful. So you also need to train yourself to be positive and resilient. And this positivity and resilience will help you with these automatic negative thoughts and reactions. So this brings us to truth number 3. Your brain will try to sabotage your learning, by going off the track or disconnecting. So take care of it so that it stays curious and focused. All right, so that is the end of our first module. Let's take a couple of minutes for Q&A, and I know that there was one particular question about age and learning. So let's take that one and then break for a couple of minutes.
Fantastic. So it was earlier in the chat, but the idea, Sergey, was that people might assume as we age that, we're not up to date, we don't have skills, etc. And the question was written in a very charming way, other than, colouring my hair, what can we do about that perception? So your thoughts on that? How do we counter what was referred to in the question as essentially ageism?
Oh, that's a question to me.
Oh, I thought you might like to start, but I'm also happy to start.
Please do.
Okay, perfect. So the question popped in that idea of appearance, and there's just a lot around this idea of ageism. I would offer one insight, which I hope would be helpful. Ageism is a form of unconscious bias. We assume that because somebody is, older, maybe they're not up to date with, and you can fill in the blank. One of the psychological strategies that you can use, you can deploy to help people see your capabilities, see your skills, see your up-to-dateness is called priming. It's actually giving them verbal clues, verbal hints, so that their brain looks out for it. Instead of defaulting to that unconscious bias, you give them a conscious thought to replace that. So saying things to people who you suspect might have put you in a kind of box of somebody who's not up to date, saying things like, oh, you know what? As my job's evolved, I'm focusing my development on. So an example might be, as my job's become more global, I've focused my personal development on improving my cultural awareness skills. Now, that doesn't demonstrate the skill, it doesn't prove you have it, but it signals or primes their brain to look out for that. An example of you being culturally sensitive versus their brain going to the default unconscious bias of that person probably hasn't kept up with our global company, So that's one example. I could give others, but Sergey, your thoughts on strategies or just insights that you
I very much liked your example, and I would add to that, find ways to signal progress. Yes. Find ways to signal that you're learning new things, and so that people see that there is movement and there is intentionality. So sharing what you're doing in terms of staying up to date, the courses that you're taking, asking questions about the new developments in the fields, or the ways, asking, okay, what skills do we need to develop to meet the objectives or the priorities, will demonstrate that you are thinking about that and you are conscious and strategic about your own development. And finally, think about everything else that you bring to the table that other people don't. You have years of experience, and that experience can be in a related field, it can be in parallel fields, and our world is becoming more interdisciplinary and interconnected. So actually, you have things to bring to the table that other people don't. Leverage that. So turn your perceived disadvantage into a strength. So I would say that. All right, it's time for a break. You know what? Let's take a 7-minute break. And yes, 7 minutes. I'm feeling generous, so that
Very
you have
generous.
a chance, to make a coffee, tea, a beverage of your choice. Go for a stretch if you've been sitting. We need that, so that because we need some brain, we need to activate our brain for further learning, and we have even more exciting stuff coming up. Okay, so 7 minute break, and we'll see you back.